if there's one prospect in the 2024 draft that I'd be higher on than most people, that would be Dillon Jones, who I think is almost a lottery level guy in this class. And I intend to explain why in this video, which is going to be long, I anticipate, but worth it, I think. And if you saw my Twitter today, before I get into it, of course, sub, comment, like, all would mean the world. Tell YouTube algorithm that you like these kind of videos, and that allows me to make more draft content, and hopefully some throwback draft content this summer as well. But if you saw me post on Twitter today, I was trying to post about Dillon Jones skip passing, and it just decided to be the most disgusting static of all time. So this is where that was going. And Jones is the best skip passer in the class. It is so important for ball handlers to be able to flip the court with their passing, and the velocity, timing, accuracy on some of these passes are absurd. They're absolutely nuts. And Dillon, even most players will do pick and roll skips or drive to the basket and skip, which Dillon can too, but he'll just be standing on one side of the court, recognize the help sinking too far, and just football past that, get his man a wide open drive to the rim. This is a rare skill for someone with Jones's body type, and that's what we're going to get into. 6'4", 6'11" wingspan, almost 240, strong as hell. Here's a left-handed live dribble skip pass. Perfectly on the money, have you. This is his off weak hand. Jones, ambidextrous, high-level skip passing. That is not a common trait, I will say. He'll use manipulation as well as a passer. I truly think Jones is one of the best passers in this draft. Look at Dillon staring at his target at the top of the key. This defender jumps out. I believe it's Zeke Mayo, right? Who's going to Kansas. Who's also pretty cool. And then Dillon just whips it to the to the open shooter. His skip passing is insane, and his post passing is incredible just in general, which we're going to get to. And one of the central questions of this video is going to be, what is Dillon's role and usage going to look like in the NBA? And as you can probably already tell from this video, it's a little wacky. A lot of post-ups, ISOs, weird face-ups, beautiful skip pass that his teammate unfortunately cannot corral. Dillon is a great laydown passer too. He's a more prolific skip passer than he is a laydown passer. A much higher percentage of his assists go to three, and I think that that shows up. I love Dillon's off-ball movement. We're going to get into his shooting questions later, but he is a really intelligent spacer as he sees his teammate kind of getting digged on, slides into the open space, stampede cuts to the rim, and then draws help. No-look lay down. Again, we see the manipulation. He's not letting this defender know where Jones is going to pass until it's already too late and the ball is through the bucket. I think that clip actually came too early because we have more skip passes to show. I like this one, not just because he's making a long distance, double over the double. He's leading this shooter into the corner. Look at where the shooter is when the ball leaves, and look at where the shooter catches it. That's called leading your guy to a spot to make their life easier. Dillon is a proactive passer, not just reactive. He's not just reacting to what helps giving them. He is throwing his guys open. He's manipulating. He's creating advantages on drives and then taking advantage of that advantage creation. I've said advantage too many times, right? To get good offense. And he can run some basic pick and roll stuff. Dillon's not like I said, the interior vision isn't incredible, and mostly he wins just getting really close into the rim. Part of his other amazing trait is his ability to get paint touches. He touches the paint literally whenever he wants with his strength and burst and handle. And when defenders respect his drives, as they should, he's really great. Again, we see the manipulation. Look at Jones staring out at the wing, freezing this defender. He's a savant, really, on these kind of passes. I loved this one as well, where Jones spaces out the drop big, right? When Jones uses the screen, he's basically forcing this defender to guard 2-on-1. But instead of passing it early, Jones just a little escape dribbles to the right and then floats it over top, which I don't know if I got deflected or what, but Jones is really great when he can draw a shooting threat, and that's going to be one of the main questions is can you make guys go over? Because if the answer is yes, Jones is going to be a fucking star. Like, he is so deadly with the defender on his back. That just doesn't happen a ton. Jones, once again, this is going to be another lay down pass again. His handle, as you're probably seeing already, is phenomenal. Little half spin, change of pace to get downhill. Again, we see a paint touch. So many of these clips are paint touches. That's just a nice pick and roll read over the top. And the pressure Dillon puts on defenses is immense. And he's a really fantastic driver in all ways. He's quick, he's strong, he's balanced. Look at Dillon explode off of 1 foot, kind of hang in the air, be really, really balanced, and finish through contact there. His ability to get downhill, while I don't think necessarily he's going to be as high volume as he is in college. He has the burst to turn the corner there. It might not be as high volume as it is in college, but I think it's going to translate because of all of his different ways that he can get downhill. Again, we see Dillon in ISO, quick cross, burst, inside hand finish. All of it is really overwhelming, and he's just a bully with his strength. Here he is carving out a post touch against St. Thomas, who just transferred to USC and is an NBA level frame athlete type. Jones simply wedging him away with his butt and finishing strong through contact. He was super efficient at the rim this year, even if I have some finishing questions that we'll get into at some point soon, but he was unstoppable at the rim in college, despite not being a dunk guy. As you can see, he's not a very vertical athlete. Like, he doesn't really get up super high. It's mostly like craft and touch and strength-based creation, which definitely could be a cause for some concern. But man, in the post against these smaller guards, and Jones, I think, is, especially if he can really run offense, if he can draw as a scoring threat, which I think he may be able to at a high-end outcome, right? Which is why I'm so high on him. I think he has the chance to be a real threat. Like, he can draw these mismatches, play point guard, and he's just going to destroy small guards. I mean, he's huge even for, like, he has the THT body, but he's taller and stronger than THT was. Obviously, he's much older. Dillon, I should have mentioned, is like 22-ish. But he was great last year. He starred at the Combine, which is also a cool indicator last year. This clip is not supposed to be here, but that's a nice pull-up that we'll talk more about later. But I have some finishing concerns when it comes to Dillon's projection as a scorer at the rim. He's an incredible foul drawer, and that, I think, is going to translate. But Dillon, like, he doesn't really get up. You know what I mean? Like, Jones isn't able to explode and generate separation vertically, and often has to rely on these hanging, fading finishes, which he's really good at. And when Dillon can't overwhelm with strength, it oftentimes doesn't look great. His decision-making will falter. He'll throw up shots he shouldn't. He'll get blocked probably more than you'd think for a driver as prolific as he does, which are certainly concerns to look out for. When Dillon gets stonewalled by other strong basketball players, he really does resort to throwing up these crazy touch shots, and he can make them at times, like we've shown, because he is just a wonderful touch guy who can really, really carve out angles, but it's not always going to be good. But even in a lot of these clips, I want to emphasize that he's still getting to his spots and getting deep in the paint, cross behind the back, hop to that left block where he wanted to go, presumably, just doesn't really end up working out that way, unfortunately. Did I show this clip already? Yeah, I did. This you can tell this video is long because I keep doubling up on these clips. Jones, when he can't win with this post scoring, and these are the kind of concerns with translation, right? This kind of isolation, post scoring, when there isn't a ton of advantages created, doesn't really translate to the NBA. And if NBA defenders can really sit on Jones, back off of him, and force him to take these kind of bad shots, I think that's going to be the main way that he doesn't end up working out and that he ends up not really hitting his ceiling. And I think he can still get stronger. He can maybe honestly gain a little more explosion if he were to lose some of the weight, where he shakes St. Thomas with his handle. His handle is incredible. Like, it's such an incredible tool with his length and strength. In and out, shakes him. Maybe if he was a bit more explosive, he could actually get downhill there, or maybe take another step and explode more towards the rim instead of relying on touch like he is in this case. But I definitely wanted to show some of these bad process plays, even though I do really believe in Jones's finishing overall. I think also when this is the case for basically every prospect, right? But when he has less usage, it's going to get easier. When he has better spacing, it's going to get easier. But I think for someone like Dillon, who's a primary initiator on a not great team, that's especially true. And one of the big central questions, like I said, can he draw, or the more specific question is, can he force teams to go over him? Because if not, which happens now, right? Teams will go under. He's not a great pull-up three-point shooter. Dillon actually shot the ball pretty well on catch-and-shoot threes, but teams felt pretty comfortable sliding under Jones's pick and rolls. And when he tried punishing them with pick and roll threes, oftentimes he wasn't able to capitalize. And Jones, I wish, was a bit more willing of a shooter on the catch, especially given how smart of an off-ball mover he is. Jones, instead of kind of acting off the catch, he jab into a tough shot. But I believe he shot around 34% off the catch this year, which really isn't that bad. And he did flash some ability to punish sagging defenses. And I appreciate his willingness to take these pull-up threes, to not just let defenses sit back and totally ignore him. This was a really nice looking 1-2 smooth catch and shoot from about NBA range. And this is just such a quintessential Dillon play, grabbing the offensive missing the shot, team grabs the offensive rebound, sprints to the open spot as a spacer, light movement three. I really do believe in his off-ball shooting. I think I actually missed that shot, right? Yeah, but I think the process of getting there is kind of what I was focusing on, even though, again, he's not an amazing shooter by any means. But I think he can get there. He's, his touch is great, his volume is pretty solid, and as we've seen, he shows flashes of moving, relocating, and being able to smoothly shoot off of the catch. And it is pretty common for players with great mid-range pull-up games like Jones has to expand that. And Jones, man, this guy can score in the mid-range. This is where Jones is going to be certifiably elite to me. The rim might be a problem at times, but in the mid-range, I don't think many players in this class can do it like Dillon, where it's just his touch, his strength, his relentless space creation. Dillon kind of pushing off here, right? But you see him explode off that left foot into the fadeaway. Not bothered by the contest at all. Is this the one disgusting handle that I posted on my Twitter? Yes. Oh my God. His ability to change speeds and directions, especially against a switch, like, this poor big is just cooked. I love how expressive he is with his feet and his body language. This looks like Dillon's exploding to the left, but nope. Cross back, snatch back. That's a wide open shot. And I think it's, like I said, common for players to be able to extend that mid-range pull-up. I've made so many videos on guys like Tatum, Kawhi, etc., Siakam, who we'll talk a little bit about later. We again see the handling. This half smitty is a move that Dillon really likes to generate separation, as Jones just lulls his defender to sleep with a couple moves. His spin move is deadly, and Dillon sells it with the hard plant, and then going the other way. He really does have the handle to get to whatever spot he wants on the floor and to pull up from mid-range from basically wherever he wants, which is a valuable trait that I think is going to translate. This was a game winner, as you can see, him just working to his spot, working. And like I said, I don't know if he's going to get these kind of touches in an NBA offense, maybe on the bench, or if he hits a real star ceiling, which I think is possible, even if not likely. But man, Jones can carve his way, hit these tough shots, win the game right there at the buzzer. And though I don't love, Jones taking this many dribbles sometimes, and I don't know exactly how possessions like this will translate, I think the skill there is obvious, and his ability to create separation and hit these mid-range pull-up jumpers is evident. And I think he's shown the ability to attack off the catch, to move off ball. And I think that's going to be another key point is, can he translate this pull-up scoring to one dribble pull-ups off the catch, to short side pick and roll stuff? And his statistical indicators are super wacky as well. And I made up this query with, it's kind of random and has a big range of outcomes, but I think that's kind of fitting for what Dillon Jones is. A guy who gets a ton of assists, draws a ton of fouls, makes a bunch of mid-range jumpers, dunks the ball, generally productive. And you have all over the yard from Ben Simmons, John Wall, and Shea to like Landry Fields and I don't know, Chandler Hutchison and Jerry and Grant. I've had a hard time coming up with a comp for Jones because he's so unique. There are definitely similarities, I think, to Kyle Anderson in just being like a big point guard who often beat guys with their pacing and handle and passing. Anderson was way taller, like probably 5 inches, but I also think Jones is so much better as an athlete and honestly probably just more skilled as well as a passer. Anderson was more of like a basic floor general setup guy, whereas Jones is like a creative, dynamic passer. But again, we saw the same kind of stuff where defenses would go under Anderson who could punish them in the mid-range. His three-pointer was inconsistent throughout his career, but he did have seasons where he was pretty threatening. I think like one of his Memphis seasons, he was around 37% on solid volume. And I again want to bring back up Siakam, who was a demon in the mid-range. Again, I think Dillon Jones, like Siakam, both have like weird, wonky body types and movement skills, which sometimes throws people off. I think that's true for Siakam as well. And just because it doesn't really look familiar, it didn't look familiar with Siakam or Kyle Anderson, or even like I think of a guy like Delon Wright kind of fits this bill too. And even if you go higher up this query, like Ben Simmons or Draymond Green, I think is a great example. Oftentimes these players who don't look familiar, people sleep on them because they can't think of comparisons, so they can't think of how a guy with X skill set is going to look in the league, when in the case of a lot of those guys, and I think in the case of Dillon Jones, it might just be, hey, this guy is an elite passer. He's elite flipping the court. He's an incredible dribbler. He's amazing at drawing fouls, and he has a good enough shot. He's just going to find ways to be impactful. Oftentimes, stars surprise us, right? We don't see them coming. They carve out paths we didn't think possible. And I think identifying guys with a bunch of elite traits who really dominate at the college level, who can create advantages at will, who have high feel, unique tools, it's really why I think Dillon Jones is worthy of a top 15 pick in this underwhelming class. I'm not saying I'm guaranteed he's going to be a star or anything. I think there are worlds where he doesn't really stick in the NBA. The shot isn't good enough. He can't find a role. Maybe his defense isn't good enough, which was kind of weird because he basically like played the 5 at Weber State. But he has like good range and instincts, and I think he can be a pretty solid defender. But offense is really where he could be special. And I think we could see a really unique career trajectory, and I hope he lands in a creative system with a creative coach who's willing to use him in unorthodox ways or get him in his favorite spots: high post, mid post, block, the middle of the floor, just like he was in college, but maybe with more NBA level principles. But yeah, this is my case for Dillon Jones. Whoever drafts him is going to get a steal. I'm fairly confident in that, and I cannot wait to see how this goes.